Yeah, Tanika, the defense attorneys both argued to the jury that the prosecutor's evidence that they're going to be presenting to them in the future is a result of plea deals reached by others associated with this case. And they just urged the jury to keep that in mind as the trial goes on.
The jury found him guilty. Guilty of first-degree murder. A verdict that reverberated through Jacksonville. A verdict that many now believe didn't just send Ksoo to prison, but signed his death warrant. The moment the gavel slammed, a wave of dread washed over everyone who understood the brutal reality of the Florida prison system. Insiders are already whispering. Things turned deadly almost immediately after he arrived at his new facility. They say ATK, AC's top killers, finally got their revenge. Let me break it down for you, because what you're about to hear is wild. Rumors are swirling that Ksoo has already been harmed inside. And honestly, it wouldn't shock anyone. The man's got enemies everywhere. Everybody's got a bone to pick. Ksoo was convicted of first-degree murder in the 2020 shooting death of Lil McCormick. A case steeped in gang violence. A case that exposed deep-seated rivalries and a twisted code of loyalty. But the most shocking element? His own father, Casanova, testified against him. Let's rewind. Lil McCormick wasn't just a victim, she was a symbol. Her murder fueled the already raging conflict between ATK and rival gangs, setting off a chain reaction of violence and retribution. Ksoo's conviction wasn't just about Lila, it was a statement, a declaration that the streets had caught up with him. And now, the streets were coming for him again, only this time, within the walls of a Florida prison. The whispers started almost immediately. Stories of threats, of tense confrontations, of a looming storm. The Florida prison system isn't just a place of incarceration, it's a battleground. A place where old beefs never die, where disrespect is a capital offense, and where the slightest misstep can trigger a brutal response. For someone like Ksoo, a prominent figure in ATK, a man with a reputation for violence and defiance, it was a death sentence waiting to be carried out. What made the situation even more tragic? The testimony of Casanova, Ksoo's father. The ultimate betrayal. The moment he took the stand, he shattered the fragile code of loyalty that binds the streets. He painted a picture of desperation, of a man caught between a rock and a hard place. He spoke of health issues, of a yearning to see his younger children, of a desire to escape the shadow of his son's actions. I got some health issues, he confessed, his voice laced with a mix of shame and regret. I got diabetes, high blood pressure, congestive heart failure. It was a calculated move, a plea for sympathy, but it did little to soften the blow. In the streets, snitching on your own family is unforgivable. It's a violation of the most sacred rule. It's a stain that can never be washed away. And the consequence? Eternal damnation. My 6-year-old son, he asked me to come to his football games. Come take him fishing. Casanova continued, his voice cracking. He asks me, when am I going to come see you, Daddy? He's begging me, please, please come see me, Daddy. You want to teach me how to play the game, but you don't know where I'm at. He painted a heartbreaking picture, a father torn between his loyalty to the streets and his love for his children. But the streets don't offer compromises. They demand unwavering allegiance, even at the cost of your own soul. And Casanova had chosen a different path. He's chosen to prioritize his own survival, to betray his own son, and now he's paying the price. The deal he struck with the prosecution was brutal in its simplicity. Testify against Ksoo, and he's looking at a reduced sentence of 76 months, most of which he's already served. He's practically walking free, to spend his final days with his younger children, knowing that his own son is facing a life sentence. But he's also walking into a storm of hatred and retribution. I really don't have no more relationship with my family besides, he admitted, his voice hollow with despair. They completely cut me out. He's lost everything, his family, his reputation, his place in the streets. He's become a pariah, a traitor, a marked man. He knows that even when he's released from prison, he's not safe. He's living on borrowed time, always looking over his shoulder, waiting for the inevitable reckoning. And what about Ksoo? He's facing a life sentence, knowing that his own father turned against him. He's a symbol of everything the streets stand for: violence, loyalty, and defiance. But he's also a victim, caught in a web of gang warfare and betrayal. The Florida prison system is a brutal microcosm of the streets. It's a place where power is currency, respect is earned through violence, and silence is a matter of survival. And it's a place where King Von's experiences offer a chilling glimpse into what Ksoo is facing. Let's flash back to February 9th, 2016. Sergeant Crumpstar, Division 1073, Shift, documented an interview with Devin Bennett, inmate number 2014-068061. Can you state your name and ID number? The exchange reveals a level of animosity and paranoia that permeates the prison environment. Von's frustration and defiance, his refusal to cooperate with authorities, are a testament to the mentality that thrives within those walls. Can you tell me what happened? Crumpstar probed. I got hit. Von responded, his voice laced with defiance. Why did you get in the hallway? You was in the hallway. Hit the corner. Who made you still? Von's refusal to identify his attacker highlights the code of silence that protects inmates and perpetuates the cycle of violence. It's a code that Ksoo is now forced to navigate. The leaked footage from November 2017, where Von requested protective custody due to threats related to his sexual orientation.
During opening statements, both Robinson and Whitaker's attorneys alluded that the state's evidence in this case came as a result of plea deals.
We're going to learn that Blue, this ain't his first time cooperating with law enforcement. He's done that before, so he has experience. He knows that when he's in trouble and he is caught, if I say what the government wants to hear, I get out. He's done it before, and he's going to do it again in this courtroom.
What you're going to learn is that Dominic Barner came in on January 15th, and he told just enough about himself to get him off his case. So let him go.
During the prosecution's opening statements, Assistant State
further illustrates the precariousness of his position. He was forced to swallow his pride, to publicly acknowledge his vulnerability, just to survive. Because of your sexual orientation, you're requesting protective custody. Is that correct? Yes. And then there's the footage of Von slipping out of his handcuffs to retaliate against a Chicago rival, showing the lengths to which inmates will go to protect themselves and maintain their reputations. The Casanova situation adds another layer of complexity. Allegations of mistreatment in Duval County Jail surfaced in December 2024, painting a picture of psychological manipulation and isolation tactics. If those conditions were real, imagine the amplified torment that awaits Ksoo within the confines of a state prison. The case of Casanova also sheds light on the psychological toll of betrayal. His testimony wasn't just a legal maneuver. It was a profound violation of trust, a wound that may never heal. His words revealed the devastating consequences of his actions. I really don't have no more relationship with my family besides. They completely cut me out. The violence that Ksoo has been involved in extends far beyond Jacksonville. The ongoing feud between ATK and rival gangs has linked to multiple murders. Ksoo's presence within the Florida prison system is a powder keg waiting to explode. For someone like Ksoo, a man built on a foundation of violence, disrespect, and defiance, the Florida prison system isn't just a place of incarceration. It's a gauntlet. It's a death sentence, and the executioner is already waiting. The whispers continue, the rumors intensify. It's a story of loyalty, betrayal, violence, and ultimately, a tragic descent into the brutal reality of the Florida prison system. The question isn't whether Ksoo will survive, it's when. The gavel slammed down, a sound that echoed far beyond the courtroom. A sound that signaled the end of an era. Ksoo sentenced. Goodbye forever. It wasn't just a legal verdict. It was a societal earthquake. A moment that ripped through Jacksonville and reverberated across the nation. We'd watched it unfold. A slow-motion train wreck of violence, loyalty, and ultimately, betrayal. Now the music stopped. But the questions remain. How did we get here? What does this mean for Jacksonville streets? And what happens now when the man they call Ksoo, Hakeem Robinson, faces a lifetime behind bars? The source text paints a picture, a twisted, cyclical story of pain, revenge, and the brutal reality of gang life. It's a story that started long before that courtroom verdict, a a story rooted in the tragic loss of Willie "Boss" Goon Addison. That night, January 15th, 2019, was a turning point. It wasn't just a shooting. It was a family tragedy of epic proportions. Think about it. Driving your dying son to the hospital while you're bleeding out yourself. The raw pain, the unimaginable grief. That's the backdrop against which this whole saga played out. The loss of Willie wasn't just a statistic. It was a wound that festered, a rage that simmered, ultimately erupting in the cold-blooded execution of Lil Buck. We've all seen the videos, the snippets of the diss track, the gloating, the posturing. But there's a deeper story there, a complex web of relationships and rivalries that fueled the violence. The source text meticulously lays out the timeline, the planning, the execution. It's not just about a single act of violence. It's about a culture of retaliation, a cycle of bloodshed that seemed destined to repeat itself. And in many ways, it did. The execution of Lil Buck wasn't just a crime. It was a statement, a declaration of war in a conflict that had been brewing for years. The legal proceedings themselves were a spectacle. It wasn't just about presenting evidence. It was about navigating a minefield of conflicting loyalties, shifting narratives, and the inherent challenges of proving guilt in a case so steeped in street politics. The jury had to grapple with the testimony of confessed killers, witnesses with questionable motives, and family members who had to betray their own blood to see justice served. It's a heavy burden to carry, deciding the fate of someone, especially when that person is a figure as polarizing as Ksoo. The prosecution's strategy was fascinating. They knew they couldn't just rely on forensic evidence. They had to get inside the heads of the perpetrators to understand their motivations and to unravel their intricate plan. And they did that by leveraging the one thing that gangs often can't resist, the promise of leniency. Confessed killers, willing to trade information for a reduced sentence, became key witnesses, providing the prosecution with a roadmap to the crime. Dominique Barner. The name itself is loaded with implications. A man willing to flip, to testify against his own crew, to save his own skin. How reliable is that testimony? Can you truly trust a man who's willing to betray his own? That's the question the jury had to wrestle with. But the defense didn't go down without a fight. Julie Schlacks, Ksoo's lawyer, relentlessly attacked the credibility of the prosecution's witnesses, highlighting their past lies and their vested interest in seeing Ksoo convicted. She painted a picture of a desperate man, willing to say anything to escape a harsh sentence. The source text emphasizes the importance of this credibility battle. Ultimately, the jury had to decide who they believed, the confessed killers or the man who stood accused. The stakes were immense, not just for Ksoo, but for the entire legal system. And let's talk about the symbolism of using rap lyrics as evidence. It's a controversial tactic, one that strikes at the heart of hip-hop culture. Is it fair to hold artists accountable for the exaggerated narratives and fictional storytelling that are so integral to the art form? Or does it make sense?
Trial for the 2020 murder of Charles McCormick Jr. is officially underway. Hakeem Robinson, better known as Ksoo, and Leroy Whitaker are being tried together with separate juries. Robinson is charged with first-degree murder as a criminal gang member, and Whitaker is charged with first-degree murder as a criminal gang member, burglary with assault or battery, and home invasion robbery. Both Robinson and Whitaker are alleged to be part of the ATK gang. Investigators allege that Robinson and Whitaker sought to kill McCormick Jr. because he made a rap song that dissed the late rapper Willie Addison, who is also Robinson's half-brother.
Sense to consider rap lyrics as a window into the artist's true intentions, especially when those lyrics seem to mirror the events of a crime. The source text highlights this very point. The defense argued that the prosecution was unfairly targeting Ksoo, using his artistic expression against him. It's a slippery slope, and it raises important questions about the boundaries of free speech and the criminal justice system. The physical evidence, or lack thereof, added another layer of complexity to the case. Ksoo's fingerprint on a rifle, his hair found near the scene. These were pieces of the puzzle, but they weren't conclusive. The fact that the murder weapon was never recovered was a significant blow to the prosecution. It left room for doubt, a crack in the seemingly airtight case. The defense seized on this doubt, arguing that the evidence was circumstantial and that it didn't prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Ksoo was involved in the crime. But the turning point, the moment when the scales tipped in favor of the prosecution, came with the testimony of Dominique Butterbarner. His detailed account of the planning and execution of the crime, his willingness to implicate Ksoo and others, provided the jury with the missing link they needed to reach a verdict. He laid out the entire operation, from the online search for Lil Buck's address to the stakeout and the final, fatal confrontation. It was a damning indictment, and it was difficult for the defense to counter. And then there's the aftermath. The source text mentions the threats against Ksoo while incarcerated, the reality that even behind bars, he remains a target. The jailhouse politics are just as brutal, if not more so, than the streets. The video clip, allegedly featuring Y&R, speaking about putting hands on Ksoo, is a chilling reminder that the cycle of violence doesn't end with a conviction. It simply moves to a different arena. The man who once commanded respect on the streets now faces a constant threat of violence within the prison walls. The message from State Attorney Melissa Nelson was clear. The state won't tolerate gang violence. But can a conviction truly eradicate a culture of retaliation? Can it heal the wounds that have been festering for so long? The source text suggests that the answer is far more complex than a simple conviction. It's a systemic problem, rooted in poverty, lack of opportunity, and a deep-seated distrust of the legal system. The legal implications extend far beyond the single case. Shannon Schott predicts appeals will be filed, potentially challenging the evidence and questioning the fairness of the proceedings. But even if those appeals are successful, it won't erase the pain and suffering that have been inflicted on the victims and their families. The title, Ksoo Sentenced, Goodbye Forever, encapsulates the finality of the verdict. It's a symbolic end to an era, a closing of a chapter in Jacksonville's history. But it's also a reminder of the human cost of violence. It's a story of loss, betrayal, and the enduring struggle to break the cycle of retribution. Thinking about this case, it's hard not to feel a sense of sadness and frustration. We've lost too many young people to violence. We've created a system that perpetuates the cycle of retribution. What can we do to break this cycle? How can we create a society where young people have the opportunities they need to succeed? These are the questions we need to be asking ourselves. The source text doesn't offer easy answers. It doesn't provide a roadmap to a violence-free future. But it does offer a glimpse into the complex reality of gang life, a reality that is often hidden from view. It forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves and our society. And that, perhaps, is the most valuable lesson of all. Ksoo's sentence marks not just an end for him, but a pivotal moment for Jacksonville, a chance to reevaluate, to rebuild, and to strive for a future where goodbye forever doesn't represent a tragic loss, but a chance for a new beginning. The prison walls now stand as a permanent marker of a life irrevocably altered, a stark reminder that choices have consequences, and that the pursuit of vengeance rarely leads to peace. It's a story etched in pain, loss, and the lingering question: can a city truly move forward when the shadows of its past continue to loom large? The sentence is served, the doors are locked, but the echoes of Ksoo sentenced goodbye forever will resonate for generations to come. But the echoes of Ksoo sentenced goodbye forever will resonate for generations to come. They're not just words, you know. They's a gut punch to Jacksonville, a raw, painful truth echoing in the streets, in the schools, in the homes of everyone touched by the cycle of violence. And it's a question, isn't it? A heavy, lingering question mark hanging over the city. How do we move on from this? How do we heal? The sentencing itself was something else. A packed courtroom, thick with a tension you could practically taste. Families on both sides, Ksoo's, and those impacted by his actions, staring across the room, a silent battle of grief, anger, and a desperate longing for something different. The air was heavy with the weight of it all, years of pain distilled into a single, devastating moment. And you could see it in the faces of the young people in the gallery, too. Kids who've grown up knowing this kind of loss, this kind of fear. Kids who are already starting to understand that the streets don't offer a fairy tale ending. They offer a choice, a difficult, dangerous choice, between survival and oblivion. It wasn't just about Ksoo's sentence, though. It was about everything that led to it. The years spent hustling, the close calls, the moments of fleeting triumph, all culminating in this one, unavoidable consequence. It's a story woven into the fabric of Jacksonville, a story of poverty, desperation, and a system that often seems to fail those who need it most. And let's be real, it wasn't a vacuum, right? It wasn't just Ksoo making choices.
Jr, better known as Lil Buck, was shot and killed in 2020 in what investigators believe was a gang-related attack right outside of an Arlington shopping center. Action News Jack's Madison Foglio is live outside of the Duval County Courthouse, and the opening statements just wrapped up. In Madison, the defense attorneys for both men showed similar strategies, you noticed.
In a bubble. It was a community, a situation, a legacy of pain that shaped his path and the paths of so many others. Think about it. What happens when hope feels like a luxury? When opportunity knocks, but the door's boarded up? When the only role models you see are making money any way they can, even if it means risking everything? It's a domino effect, and Ksoo, tragically, was one of the dominoes. But the force that set him tumbling, that's what we gotta look at. That's the real story. The sentence itself, 15 years, it feels like a lifetime. A lifetime taken from him. A lifetime stolen by the choices he made. Yes, but also a lifetime lost to a system that didn't give him a fair shot from the beginning. And for the families left behind? For his mom, his siblings, his friends? 15 years is an eternity of grief. An eternity of wondering what if. And for the families of the victims, the sentence, however just, can never truly heal the wounds. It doesn't bring back what's been lost. It doesn't erase the pain. It's a marker of justice, but not a cure for the heartache. The courtroom was a microcosm of Jacksonville itself, a community fractured by violence, struggling to find a way forward. But within that pain, there's also a flicker of hope, a recognition that something has to change. Ksoo's sentencing isn't just an ending, it's a wake-up call. It's a chance to confront the uncomfortable truths about ourselves, about our city, about the systems that perpetuate this cycle of violence. We gotta stop looking away. We gotta stop pretending that this isn't happening, that these kids aren't real, that their struggles aren't valid. We gotta start listening to their stories, understanding their pain, and offering them real, tangible solutions. Not just empty promises, but opportunities, education, job training, mentorship, a chance to build a better future. It's not about condoning their actions. It's about understanding the circumstances that led them to those actions. It's about offering them a way out, a chance to rewrite their stories. Look, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying there's a simple fix. But we gotta start somewhere. We gotta invest in our communities, create opportunities for our youth, and address the root causes of violence. We gotta rebuild trust between law enforcement and the communities they serve. We gotta create a city where every child feels safe, valued, and empowered to reach their full potential. It's a long, hard road, but it's the only way we're gonna break this cycle. And it's not just about the money, either. It's about the heart. It's about showing these kids that we care, that we see them, that we believe in them, that we're willing to invest in their futures. It's about creating a culture of hope, a culture of opportunity, a culture of second chances. Because these kids, they deserve a second chance. They deserve the opportunity to dream, to grow, to become something more than the streets have labeled them. The prison walls stand as a stark reminder, you know? A concrete barrier separating Ksoo from the world, but also a barrier between us and the uncomfortable truths we're trying to ignore. It's easy to point fingers, to condemn, to feel a sense of righteous anger. But that's not going to solve anything. That's just going to perpetuate the cycle. We need to shift the focus. We need to ask ourselves, what could we have done differently? How could we have intervened? How could we have prevented this tragedy from happening? It's a difficult question, a painful question, but it's a necessary question. And it's not just about Ksoo either. It's about all the other kids out there, the ones who are still on the streets, the ones who are still making those same difficult choices. It's about preventing the next tragedy, the next loss, the next Ksoo sentenced goodbye forever. It's about recognizing that these aren't just statistics. These are human beings with dreams and aspirations, with families who love them. The echoes of Ksoo sentenced goodbye forever will resonate for generations to come, but we have the power to shape what those echoes mean. We can let them be a symbol of despair, a reminder of our failures, or we can let them be a catalyst for change, a spark of hope, a call to action. The choice is ours. And let's be honest, We can't just rely on the system to fix this. It's going to take all of us, parents, teachers, community leaders, elected officials, working together, united in our commitment to creating a better future for our children. It's going to take a collective effort, a community-wide movement. Think about the young people who witnessed the sentencing. They're the future of Jacksonville. They've grown up surrounded by violence, by loss, by despair. But they also have the power to change things. They have the power to break the cycle. They can become the voices of hope, the agents of change. We need to invest in them. We need to mentor them. We need to empower them. We need to show them that we believe in them, because they are the ones who will ultimately shape the future of Jacksonville. They are the ones who will decide whether the echoes of Ksoo's sentence goodbye forever will be a symbol of despair or a catalyst for change. It's a long road ahead, a difficult road, but it's a road we have to travel together. It's a journey that requires courage, compassion, and unwavering commitment to creating a better future for our children. Let's not let Ksoo's story be just another tragic headline. Let's make it a turning point, a moment of reckoning, a spark of hope for a city yearning for a brighter tomorrow. Let's turn those echoes into a chorus of change. Let's create a Jacksonville where every child has the opportunity to thrive, to dream, to become the best version of themselves. Because that's the legacy we owe to Ksoo, to his family, and to the future of our city. Let the sentence be not an end, but a beginning. Let the sentence be not an end, but a beginning.
Him to make a phone call to Raekwon Howard, right? And in your presence, you say he tells him what he's going to do, right?
Right.
That makes Raekwon Howard a witness for you guys, right? Against you guys.
I wouldn't have knew that.
How would you not have known that?
I don't know the legal system like that. So I
You do know the legal system, Mr. Barno.
wouldn't have knew that would have made him a witness. At the time, I wouldn't have knew that.
The fact that Raekwon Howard had a conversation with Hakeem Robinson where you claim he confessed to him is not a witness in the case?
I wouldn't have knew that.
And let's talk about what you do know about Raekwon Howard. What do you know about him?
As in,
You know anything other than his name?
I know his nickname,
Which is?
Pooh,
Anything else?
50K.
Okay. Any other details about him? When's his birthday?
I have no idea.
Isn't it true that